accepting people for who they are and not who you want them to be. You cannot change a person if they don't want to change, and not everybody deserves your energy. You didn't come this far just to come this far. Define yourself. Define who you want to be. Hey y'all, welcome to the Heart and Hustle Diaries, where we talk about healing, growing, and just elevating and becoming a better you. And I feel like this is the perfect time to start this little diary because we're going into 2025. I am so excited to introduce this whole series to y'all because y'all, this year really did transform me into a whole new person. And it wasn't until I really sat down within myself and looked within that I really started to realize that I needed to make some changes in order for my life to actually change itself. As humans, we like to blame our circumstances on everybody else in the world and everything else, and we're just like, oh my gosh, like my life's so terrible and this is all happening to me. But whenever you really sit down and look at all the things that are happening in your life and like you actually look at what's going on, you realize that all things are working in your good. And y'all, that's my favorite song right now. I'm gonna put the name on the screen. I can never remember the name, but every single time I listen to that song, I'm just reminded by how good God is and how everything that happens in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, it all happens for a reason and all happens in His divine timing. So that has been my main focus this year, is just keeping my eye on that and realizing that everything does happen for a reason. So I think it's only fitting to start off the series by talking about our past. I know we all hate talking about our past. We're just like, let's just leave the past in the past and move on. But ultimately, we have to address our past and face our past head on in order to really move forward and to figure out what's going on in our life and why things are happening. So first and foremost, your past does not define you. Anything that's happened to you in the past, anything that's happened in your life, it does not define who you are today. And you have complete control over your life and complete control over your actions and the way you react to things and the way you move to things, because your past does not define you, nor does it make you into the person that you are today. You can learn to take hold of that and to become a better person because of your past, instead of letting your past define you and to break you down into somebody that you don't want to be. Honestly, this year, whenever I really learned to take control of my feelings and my emotions, that's when I really had the most control over my life. Control in the sense of I really don't control too much, but things that I do control, I learned to control them wholeheartedly in the way that I wanted to control them, not based off of how I reacted in the past, but based off of who I want to be in the future. So instead of lashing out and getting mad and getting angry and yelling, I just really learned to look at the bigger picture and realize that not everything deserves my attention, not everything deserves my energy or my time or my focus, and just moving forward and being like, okay, you know what, that happened and that sucks, but I'm just gonna keep it pushing. Like, I'm not even gonna make a big deal out of it. I'm just going to move forward. So your past does not define you, and you have complete control over your actions and the way you react. So whenever you really learn that and you understand that you have control over your actions and you cannot blame your actions on somebody else, that's when you can really start to get a hold of this whole self-help and self-improvement thing. And I know if you're here today and you're listening to this today, you want to become a better you, a better version of yourself, and you're on the right path to doing just that. Another thing I had to learn was to separate my identity from my past and my history and everything that's going on. Whenever I was really able to look at who I am today and who I want to be in the future, and to move on from who I was, that's whenever I started making the biggest difference and started seeing the biggest changes in myself. When I tell y'all, I am such a calm person now because of these changes that I made in my life. I don't let just anything bother me. I have a lot of control over my life, and I have a lot of control over what I allow to affect me in my life. And if things aren't serving me, if things aren't bringing me to where I want to be, or if they're not elevating me in any way, shape, or form, then I have no issue cutting that off, because I realize that my past will not define my future, and I don't need to keep dragging on this baggage from a year ago, this baggage from 2 years ago, where I could just drop it where it is and keep on moving. You have to learn to drop your baggage and to not carry it on with you, because ultimately that is holding you and that's pulling you back into a place that you don't want to be, into a place that you work so hard to get out of. So do not let your baggage be something that pulls you back into a place that you don't want to be. You have to learn how to face it head on, accept it for what it is, and move on. That's a really hard thing, is just accepting your past for what it is and realizing that you can't control it, realizing that you can't change your past, you can't change what happened, you can't change other people, you can't control other people either. So being able to really just look at your past and be like, yeah, that happened, that sucked, that was terrible, and you have all these feelings towards it, and that's okay. And then being able to move forward and be like, okay, you know what, I feel all these things and that's that. I'm just gonna move forward and continue on my life. I'm not gonna keep on letting this pull me back into the same place that I worked so hard to climb out of. Because ultimately, if your trauma is from one person or people in your life or whatever it may be, you have to understand that you cannot control other people, and the way that people react towards you has nothing to do with you as a person. The way that they treat you has nothing to do with you as a person either. If that's just who they are and they're just a terrible person, that's just what it is, and you have to learn to just move on with your life. I actually seen this thing, it was on reality TV actually. What show was it? I think it was Love is Blind. Ashley, when she was talking about her dad, she was like, I had to stop expecting my dad to be something else. I just had to learn to love him for where he's at and not for who I want him to be. And when I tell you, that really did hit, because you have to learn to love people for where they are and not who you want them to be. You can't allow them to let you down every single time they don't show up the way that you want them to show up. But this is obviously for different circumstances. This is, for example, just like a parent not being the most present, a parent not being the most involved in your life. You have to learn to love them for where they are, love them for where they're at, because at the end of the day, this is their life and this is how they're choosing to live their first time on earth. They're learning just as much as we are, and just learning to love them where they are and just letting that be, and not expecting them to be a better person, not expecting them to show up different after they showed you 10 million times that this is who they are. You can't expect this one time that they'll be different, because then you just keep letting yourself down over and over and over again. And who wants to be let down over and over and over again? I know I don't. That has been one of my main things this year, is just really learning to love people for where they're at in their life, and to love them for who they are, and learn to love them for what they've shown me, and just move on. You know, I can't keep expecting certain things from certain people. I can't expect a certain level of love or commitment from people who show me time and time again that they just can't give it to me. You know, and if they're showing me that they can't give it to me, I understand, I see that. I mean, I'm not gonna completely accept it and be like, oh my gosh, like, I love you so much. It's like, I'll love you from a distance. I'll love you from wherever I feel comfortable loving you at, and I'm not gonna change that. So just having boundaries and learning to not let your past define you, and just accepting people for who they are and not who you want them to be. Because then you just keep letting yourself down over and over and over again, especially if you've had these conversations and you tried to talk to them and you've tried to tell them what you need and what you want them to do. And if they aren't doing it, honey, you really can't do anything about it. You cannot change a person if they don't want to change, and that is something you have to live by. You can really only control yourself. So whenever you can really understand that and grasp the concept that you can only control yourself and you're in control of your emotions, your feelings, and the way that you react to things, that's when life looks a little up, because you're like, oh yeah, this shitty thing did happen, but I'm choosing to respond in this manner because you're not about to ruin my day. You're not about to bring me down. You're not about to bring me down right there with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going this way, you can go that way. I'm sorry. You feel me? Like, you have to learn what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And not everything deserves your energy. I'm telling you this right now. Family, friends, loved ones, whatever it may be, not everybody deserves your energy. You have to learn how to protect your peace, your energy, and just you can't let somebody else's actions affect you so much so that they bring you out of your character, that they bring you out of who you want to be and who you're working so hard to be. You know what I'm saying? You didn't come this far just to come this far. You came this far because you have a plan, you have a purpose, you have a path that you're going towards, you have a destination that you're heading towards. You did not come this far just to turn back around and give them the same reaction that they would have gotten out of you a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago. Work is work, even a week ago. If you're working to improve yourself, don't let yourself go back just because of somebody else's actions, just because of somebody else. Your past does not define you. Your trauma does not define you. Define yourself. Define who you want to be. Be the person that you want to be. Be whoever you envision your future self being. If you envision a little boss, go ahead, do it, honey. I expect nothing less, you know? And if you're not acting in that energy, if you're not acting like the person that you want to be in the future, then you can't expect to elevate. You can't expect to be a better person if you're still operating in the same frequency that you were operating in a few years ago, whenever you were like, yeah, I don't want to be that person again. You have to level up and you have to move on and accept things for what they are. I know it's hard to accept your past. I know it's hard to accept things that have happened. And yeah, like, no, it is shitty. And I'm not discarding that at all. Like, life is tough. Things happen. Terrible things can happen too as well. And they happen. Like, what can we do about it at this point? Like, we can't go back in the past. We can't rewind time. We can't go back and fix things. Things happened and we just have to move on and accept it and just continue on with our life. If we keep on harping on what was me or this was terrible or anything, I mean, it was terrible, but like, how much longer are we going to talk about it? You know what I'm saying? How much longer are we going to stay on the same subject? Like, we already know what happened. We already know the ending to the story. We already know. How much longer do we have to talk about it before you decide that you're ready to move on and to not let this one thing affect you or define your future? We have so much control over our lives, all within God's timing, of course. But we have so much control over how we react, over how we move, over the decisions that we make. Whenever you really start to understand that we have all this control, but we just have to choose different to be different. And so that brings me into my next point, which is reframing our negative thoughts. I know it can be so hard just to go back into the cycle of, for example, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, I'm not, I don't even know, skinny enough. Oh, I'm not this. I know it's so easy to just fall back into those negative thoughts and negative mind frames whenever you run into an obstacle in life and you're just like, shit, like, I'm not this, so I can't do it, and that's that. Or I'm not this, that's why I'm so terrible at this. Or I'm not this, that's why this happened. But you really have to learn how to reframe your negative thoughts into something positive. And I'm not saying that it's easy, because honey, it's not easy to do that. That's why you have to consciously make an effort to reframe your thoughts every single day. So if something happens, you can't always control your first thought, but you can always control your second thought. So if something happens, whatever, something shitty, and you're like, damn, like, I'm a terrible person, or I don't even know, that's not a good one. You be like, I don't even know. Okay, for example, you walk past a mirror, okay? You see yourself, you're like, dang, I look so ugly today. That's a negative thought. But whenever you're consciously trying to work on reframing your thoughts, you'll be like, oh shit, like that was kind of mean and that was kind of negative. Let me fix that. And so then you stay in the mirror another second longer and you're like, you look absolutely beautiful today, or you look amazing today. Just reframing your negative thoughts with positive ones right after is so important. Then eventually your first thought will be a positive thought and not a negative thought. But this does take time and practice, especially whenever you're so used to being negative in a negative cycle 24/7 all the time. Then your first thought, it's most likely going to be negative. But you have to remember that your first thought you can't control, but you can always control your second thought. You have to just learn how to be a more positive person internally, and ultimately that will reflect externally, and everybody else will see it. You'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll feel amazing. You're like, wow, like I feel amazing, I'm doing great things in life. And you're just going to positively affirm yourself, and then ultimately that just helps elevate you just so much more, because you're affirming yourself every single day that you are this girl, you are doing it, you are making it, you are breaking generational curses, you are being the person that you want to be. And that's because you're reframing your negative thoughts into positive ones. So just don't forget from this video, your past does not define you. Your past does not control you. You can only control you and yourself. You can't control anybody else around you. Don't let other people control your emotions. And lastly, you can't always control your first thought, but you can always control your second thought. So think positively and just be positive. Now that we're getting to the end of this video, y'all, I really want y'all to sit down, bring out a journal, sit there and think, what's one thing that you're ready to release, and what's one thing that you're ready to move on from your past that you feel like is holding you back and that still has a hold on you. Sit down, journal, think about it, talk about it, and then every single day, try and become a more positive person. Do your best. It's not easy, it's not whatever, it's not just one day and you're fine. Like, no, this is like a week, weeks, a month, months. This takes a long time to reframe your thoughts, but just try your best. It's not easy, but it will get better. Anyways, I hope that y'all enjoyed today's video, and I cannot wait for the next one. I'm so excited about this series, and I just can't wait to share so many things. I've listened to so many podcasts, reading so many books, and I really transformed my life in 2024, and I'm just so ready to share it in 2025, because there's just so much growing and so much learning, and I know that everybody who's listening to this video, everybody who is watching this video has the potential to be their absolute best self, and I'm gonna help you get there in 2025. Hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all Saturday.